Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Unemployed Millennial podcast. If you are tuning in from YouTube, you might be a little confused. If you're just listening in audio, feel free to keep listening on audio. But I am actually tuning in from my closet. Why are we here? What are we doing? What time is it? What time is it right now? I changed my computer to Alaska time, so it's not even that time. It is 1:14 a.m. on November 14th. It's actually my brother's birthday, so happy birthday, Dexter. I have recently discovered my love for this closet. The origin stories. Last Sunday, the guys were watching F1 right outside my door, and it was so loud I couldn't hear myself think, but I was talking to my sister, so I couldn't even really hear her on the phone, and she was like, where are you? And I was just like, I was out in my room at first, but then I was like, you know what? I can go in the closet and shut the door. So I was like I was laying down on a yoga mat in my closet, and I was like, is this rock bottom? But she started talking about our mutual friend. Well, it's actually her friend, but she's a friend from Alaska, Andrea. She lives in Brooklyn, and my sister was staying with her when she was going to a wedding. And she was just praising her space. She was like, Andrea has the coolest one bedroom in Brooklyn. And she has, instead of like making her bedroom the place where she sleeps, she put her art studio there. And then she just put her bed in the like living kitchen area. And then Callie just goes on to be like, I feel like every artist or artistic person kind of needs that, there's their own little space. And I didn't really think much of it. I was just like, yeah, okay, that's amazing for Andrea. And then at like 1 a.m. in the morning, there's someone sleeping outside. Someone we know, Asher. And I was working on my Synchronicity video, which required a lot of voiceovers, and I am not super comfortable with voiceovers. I know that I need to get over that because it is a very effective way to guide a story along. This is actually the setup that I was using, and I just did not feel comfortable when I knew that someone right outside the door could hear every single word that I was saying. I've always been kind of weird about this. Some people don't care. Like, they have audacity. I don't have enough audacity. That's kind of a topic that I want to talk about today, but I was just like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do these voiceovers. And then I looked at my desk and I looked at my closet and I was like, no way. Does my desk fit in here? It fits perfectly. Not only does it fit perfectly, I feel like this was actually made to be a little office space. So I'm calling it my cave, and it's had a whole story character development arc. I've slept in here. Okay. I don't actually sleep in here, but I took a really long nap in here because, again, one day I was just like really tired and I was on my yoga mat. And the last time I went to yoga, I've been to yoga twice in Austin. The second time, the yoga instructor was like 15 minutes late, but I just like, a lot of the time when I'm in a new studio or feeling like uneasy or just need to relax, I just close my eyes. And that is kind of a life hack if you are ever anxious or if you need like help going to yoga. I found that a lot of people just don't want to go to their first class. Like, I am often the buddy who goes to yoga with other people just to break the ice, but just close your eyes. It's not a big deal and it's very relaxing. And so I just closed my eyes and was laying there, and I just like fell asleep. And sometimes that happens, or during Shavasana, I'll fall asleep, and then, or I'll be in this like half wake, half sleep state. And so, I don't know, I just had the idea. I was like, sometimes I just almost fall asleep on this yoga mat, and then I'm just like, darn, I have to get up. And so then I just slept on the yoga mat when I was really tired one day, and it was kind of amazing. So I'm in a closet. This closet has become my favorite part of the entire house. I can close the door, so it's actually pretty quiet in here. This is like the quietest space in the house, I think, other than Simon's room, which is actually the garage. So I love my closet, and I cannot tell you how much I've gotten done in here. I don't know what it is, but I've been more productive than I have probably been in the last year, just in a week of having this closet set up where I simply just move my desk. And I think it's like a lot of things. I don't know. I have a pretty big room, and again, I just don't feel comfortable even like talking to myself in there. And also, like, if you're in the living room, you can hear every single word. But I think there's also something to like, if I'm putting on headphones and my back is facing the door, I'm just like, anything could happen right now. But if I'm in a small closet and I'm just facing my computer, facing the door, I don't know. I feel so safe. It's like a womb. Like, I feel safe and held here. So that is my closet. Welcome to my closet. I was fully going to go to sleep. And then I was like, okay, I really wanted to post a podcast today. So I'm going to be posting this today. And I'm trying to be more consistent. And now that I actually have like stability or just like a stable place to be, I'm just like, I actually have no excuses. I don't really have an agenda, but I've been thinking of like different topics just in my head for like the last week. So I just quickly wrote them down and we're just going to go for it. But I don't know, this last week was really crazy because I was just editing this Synchronicity video, which honestly hurt my brain a little bit because the more that I edited it, and if you listen to the last week's podcast, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, maybe I'll upload every bi-weekly. That's not even, they don't have a word for this. Is it every fortnight? Every 2 weeks. I was editing my Synchronicity video. The longer that I worked on it, the more synchronicity that I found. And it was just kind of my own little world that I was building in this Synchronicity video. I mean, I had experienced it and I knew that I experienced it, but revisiting it was just so crazy. And it's kind of like, I was listening to this podcast of writing, and the guy mentioned like, once you're finished with a writing piece, it's like done and processed, and that is you processing that moment. And that's exactly how I felt with Synchronicity. I was like, this is me processing this moment, and once I'm done, I think I'm done with this. Like, I don't really need to think about it, but until then, that consumes so many of my thoughts. Just the idea of synchronicity and learning about it, I just love doing that. So I have spent a lot of time here, and I think I talked to my friend Ryan today. I think I had like a dopamine crash after I uploaded that, and I was not even done with that video, by the way. Like, I've spent on and off like the last like 5 months editing that video. I kind of didn't touch it for a really long time, and then once I got to Austin, I started working on it again, and then I started getting really excited about it again, and then I started like just going in on the edit. But then I was just like, this needs a deadline because I could spend forever on this. And there were actually like 3 or 4 more scenes that were very synchronistic that I wanted to include, but I told myself I was going to upload this video on 11/11, and 11/11 came. I was still probably only like 3/4 of the way done with this video, and I was like, you know what, it's going to fall into place whether I like it or not, because I'm not spending another single day on this video because it needs to be done. It has been processed in my brain. I've been talking about it to like everyone. I've been excited to just release it into the world, and it's done. There's like a Rick Rubin quote that's just like, you know, art is never finished. It's just time to like release it, or maybe something. Maybe I'm making that up. But after that, I went to get myself some ice cream. I uploaded it at like 3, and then I was just like, wow, I really put the whole world on hold for this video for like the last few days at least. I was staying up. There's like, again, I was like recording voiceovers, and the guys in my house, they're really good about going to sleep early. This whole place, I went out for a writing, like my writing course had like a meetup on a Tuesday. I went out, I came back by like 10, and everyone, all the lights were off, including their guest who was sleeping outside of my room because it's the living room. And it's honestly impressive. They're like 20-year-old boys just going to sleep by 10 p.m. So good for them. But I feel like I would love to be on a normal routine and schedule, but I don't know, just like the very wee morning hours is just when I happen to get my uninterrupted work time done. And I just don't think, I would love for that to change, but I don't think it will. Paul Graham has this essay. I tell a lot of people, a lot of the time I think people already know everything that I'm like thinking of or talking about, but then the more I talk to people, the more they're like, I have no idea who or what that is. So I'm going to share it. But Paul Graham has this essay and it's called Makers versus Managers Schedule. And it essentially just says like a lot of makers. So if you're like an artist, or if you need to edit a video, or if you're a writer, or if you're a coder, because I think he wrote it primarily for people who are coding, makers need uninterrupted blocks of time. I'll link it below. They need uninterrupted time to work through their work. And a manager is someone who just has to schedule like a lot of meetings, has a lot of touch points with different people, and they will schedule meetings all day, every day, because that's their job. But for a maker, it's very disruptive to even have like a single meeting in the middle of your day. And that's definitely the case for me. Like when I have a single meeting, I'm just like, okay, like it's just in the back of my head, back of my mind, I have this meeting at this time. And then the cost of like task switching. Sometimes I'll have a meeting and then I'll just be like, okay, like I know that I have this meeting, so I'll go like do something, and then the meeting will get like moved, and then I'm just spending like actually like a few hours on this like simple meeting. So there are like, this is why I love Twitter world. There are like companies, apparently like Gumroad is like a company that's completely asynchronous. There are like no meetings, and I'm just like, that's kind of my ideal case scenario. Yeah. Okay, so while I was up, I was staying up until like 4 a.m. every single day, and I got a PR package. I don't accept like a lot of PR packages because I don't want a bunch of junk, and I don't want to create like a bunch of waste, but I accepted 2 probably this year. And one was like an Alani energy drink thing, and the other was I'm gonna forget the name, La Roche-Posay. Is that how? I don't know how to say it, but those 2 things I actually really enjoy. Like I will accept their PR packages, and they just sent me like a crate, not even a crate, just like a little box of energy drinks, and I mixed it with this. This is the Little Saints non-alcoholic spirit. I said this is the adult all-nighter like dream team because it tasted really good. And I swear, I don't know, it might be placebo, but I swear, like when I drink energy drinks, it's just not even worth it sometimes because it makes me anxious. But I put the energy drink with this, and this has like Palo Santo, ginger, mostly like the ingredient that I know is lion's mane mushroom. And I swear it had a great effect. And I thought of that because this Airbnb, the place that we're staying at is an Airbnb, and they just had this Palo Santos, I don't know if that's how you say it, in the freaking closet. Basically what happened is the guys, I think I might have explained this before, but the guys were here for 1 week. We were planning on all being here for 3 months until December, and then they locked in 1 week into living here. They locked in until next December, so like over a year. And so the guy, our landlord, was like, okay, I'll unlock the closet of goodies. This was actually so satisfying because he had like a bunch of cleaning supplies, a bunch of shampoo, conditioner, soap, toilet paper. I don't know, like I've just never seen anything like it. I was like, for some reason this brought me so much joy, this little supply closet, that my sister was like, Amory, you should just like buy like some bulk cleaning supplies or something, because the amount of joy that you got from that. But this was also in it, so I've been burning that. It's been really cute, and I have this little crab stand. Okay. But right now I am drinking the Little Saints Paloma Spritz. No, it's the Negroni. Okay, this one is my favorite then. Wow, I was gonna totally mess that up. That just shows I don't know my alcoholic beverages enough, my cocktails, but this is a mocktail. And that leads into my next subject. Okay, basically this whole podcast is like what I'm doing next, or what I'm doing with my life. First of all, who knows? Does anyone know these days? I don't know. But I have like a better idea than I probably had before. but I'm talking about like the next immediate future. And I always do a sober month in the year. And I don't think I've done a single sober month this year. And I actually have not been drinking a lot in Austin, really at all. But I was talking to a friend today, and I think I just like to have, it's kind of like an all or nothing thing. Like if I'm drinking and someone offers me like a beer, I'll be like, yeah, I'll take a beer. Like yesterday, the boys were like, Chris bought I don't know. He has like this beer thing. What's it called? I don't even know. I'm so, a keg, like a mini keg. And he bought it for our housewarming party and no one drank it. So they're like, well, why don't we just open this now? And, I was like, yeah, sure. But then I was just like, you know what? I don't need a beer at all right now. I don't think it would make me feel good at all. I've come to realize like the older I get Asian glow, which means basically I can't break down some enzyme in alcohol, and it's becoming like more trouble than it's worth, and it's fun. Different alcohols do like different things, but I'm just like, I don't need these little like here and there drinks. So as of like the 7th, I am trying to do my sober month, and that's actually, I think, much more challenging to do it November. I'm probably gonna do it. I wanted to start. I mean, I've already started, but like 11/11. I just like good dates, easy dates to remember. Or 11/1 would have been easier, but from like 11/7 to 12/7, or maybe I'll go further, do it for longer. But it kind of hits some harder dates than just October, sober October, because then you just hit Halloween. Okay, so moving on to what I'm actually going to talk about here. First, I wanted to say, like, I really wanted to encourage whoever is listening to this to take a walk and listen to this, like do a walk and talk. That's something I have, I don't know, I feel like I'm always really into walks, and I feel like podcasts are like the perfect time to do little walk and talks. However, do not listen with big noise canceling headphones. Don't listen in big crowded areas. I don't know. I couldn't believe like how many people I saw when I was living in New York have like the Apple headphones on, like, which are noise canceling, and just walking around, because you cannot be aware of your surroundings if you have headphones on. I prefer to take routes that I really know very well, and then just do like one ear and then turn it down so you can still hear everything that's happening around you. But yeah, I think a nice little walk and talk would be ideal for my thought of like what I would want a listener to do and for a podcast. I think that'd be amazing. So that's what I'm going to encourage. Okay, so yes, consistency. It was kind of funny because I was on my podcast analytics, and they have this new thing where you can look at the trends, and the first thing that popped up for search terms was like consistency, how to be consistent. And it was really funny because I was like debating. I was like, should I just film this or should I not? Maybe I'll just do it tomorrow. And then I saw that and I was like, okay, well, I have to do it now because I'm trying to be consistent. And editing the Synchronicity video, I actually looked at something and brought up a really good point that I had brought up to Simon previously, one of my roommates, and that is the Seinfeld calendar. So I feel like there are a few times in my YouTube career where I've been extremely consistent. One of them was my freshman year of college. I posted like every single Monday. I don't know if I missed like a single Monday. I did college weekly vlogs on my vlog channel until my mom was like, Amory, move this to your main channel. And then as soon as I did, it was probably my junior or senior year, they started doing really well. So I do have to say, I think I was probably the first one to do college vlogs, but I didn't even really need like a calendar or a system for that. I just consistently posted because I just genuinely loved to post there, and it was really fun. But recently I don't know, I just need a little bit more help with consistency. And I think back to my freshman year when I wanted to start any habit. It's called the Seinfeld method. And basically you just print out a calendar and you mark an X for every single time you do a desired habit. And for him, it was just writing every single day. That's what he wanted to do. And the idea is that you don't want to break the chain. So I always use like red pen, and you just mark every single day that you do the little habit, and you just don't break the chain. And it's a super visual, easy way to see your habits come to life or to drop the bad habits. So if you don't do something, I guess you could also mark it. So I have been I remember I brought it up to like Simon in the car for some reason. And he's like, what? Why is it called Seinfeld? And I was like, it was the person, the comedian. And then it was weird. I didn't make this connection until just now. It's interesting that in my Synchronicity video, I was reviewing my journaling workshop, and I literally talk about that for keeping a consistent journaling schedule or routine. I have been journaling. There are a few things that I do every single day right now in my routine, and I'm really trying to nail a morning routine, but this is kind of what my morning routine is. I will get up, I'll make my bed, I'll go to the fridge, and this is not sponsored. I'm not even planning any sponsorships with them, but I'll drink my AG1, and then I'll take it outside. And in Texas, it's like it's chilly, but it's still perfectly nice to go outside. Like it's like 50 degrees or so, but I think that is perfect. I will go outside, I'll drink my AG1. I'll kind of like see the weather just to like scope it out, and also to get some sunlight in my eyeballs. And then once I'm done drinking it, I will make my way and I'll grab a chair, bring it outside, and then I'll journal and do my morning pages outside, because as long as it is not freezing outside, I just love journaling and starting my morning outside. I don't know what it is. It just like immediately puts me in a better mood. Like if I could, I would do all of my work outside. So that's kind of my morning routine right now. So that's the consistency piece. And it was really interesting looking over the journaling workshop clip, because I don't know, some things just work. And that was 3 years ago. I started my Seinfeld method. I found it when I was in my freshman year of college. So like 2014, some things just work and it's good to come back to. Also in the Synchronicity video, started my Plan Marie era, because I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like very, very go with the flow like a lot of the time. And I think that's honestly impressive in its own right, like great, but I think structure is important too, especially if I'm trying to be consistent. It's interesting like learning one of the girls that I really, really want to do a podcast with, and she's agreed, but I'm just trying to see if I kind of want to do it in person and ask her if she can meet up in person. Her name is Jills Guerin, and she talks like a lot about like feminine energy. And I'm like looking at these clothes because she inspired me to do a Rent the Runway. When I moved to Austin, I literally didn't pack a single pair of pants. Like I honestly have no idea how. I just was loading up my hard drive so that I could have all my footage, but no clothes. And I had packed actually like 2 dresses, and I was telling the guys, I was like, I had packed not a single pair of pants. Like I packed these little workout pants and like shorts, but not a single pair of like jeans or anything. And Simon was like, oh, maybe that's a sign. So I will say I have been wearing dresses more than I probably ever have in my life, and I've been enjoying it. It's very, I don't know, it's kind of just comfortable, where in Alaska I never wore dresses, and really anywhere else I would never wear dresses. But she inspired me to kind of just try out Rent the Runway, because she talks about like confidence and stepping into your feminine power and how dressing well just makes you feel better. But essentially I think I've just been like watching kind of like a lot of those videos on like femininity or feminine versus masculine energy. And feminine is like a very flowing, receiving energy. And then like the masculine energy comes when you're trying to be scheduled or disciplined or, you know, get work done. So I'm trying to introduce some more masculine energy into my life, just in terms of like my work, because I'm just sitting on so many things that I'm super excited about, but I'm just like, okay, I actually need to do it to get it out there. So I think we're on the right path, so I'm not too worried about it. And there have been like a lot of times in my life where I'm very free flowing, and then there are times where I'm like, I feel like I'm one of the hardest working people that I know and like on a good schedule. So I am not too worried. And I also, I talked about this a little bit in my last podcast, but I think it's important for like creatives to actually experience life. And I feel like I've been doing that a lot. And so I'm ready to like come back and like talk about all my learnings. And I got really, really good feedback on my Synchronicity video, even though I didn't feel like it was complete. I have like a whole saga of like that type of learning that I'm just excited to put into like, I don't know, it's so weird to me. It was so bizarre because I seriously felt like I was kind of in my own world, and I didn't realize it until after I posted, because every single day I was so excited. Even though I was tired and I was like staying up till like 4, I was so excited to wake up in the morning and like edit this video. And that is like the biggest blessing that there is, because there have been plenty of times where I'll wake up and I'm just not excited about whatever I'm working on. So to have something that you are truly just like so excited, you're excited to wake up, you're excited to just like sit down and like get on your computer so you could like do this. And I think it is like creating your own reality, because a lot of the Synchronicity video, it's completely true, like every single thing that happened, and there's even more, but it's showing the world from my lens that I experienced. And sometimes, you know, I don't know, the energy behind that video was so high. Like when I was experiencing it, I was just like, this is so crazy. And it was at such a high. And then when I got back to Alaska, I was like, okay, I don't have any energy for this. And then going back into that world, it was just like re-entering this whole world that was literally my life, but it was just like being able to portray it onto a video so that someone else could experience that was magical. And I actually do think that was like, I don't know, I think it's a very hopeful video, because there are some times where I'm just like, okay, there is definitely something more to life than just the, you know, what we see. And I actually really do believe that. And it's funny because I got a comment from someone that was like, Amory, all you need to do is pick up a Bible. God is calling to you. And it's funny because I actually have been going to church while in Austin, and I've not gone to church since I was like a little kid. But I feel like that's kind of like a personal topic, kind of like spirituality. I'm a little bit more comfortable talking about it now, but I did not talk about spiritual things at all for quite a while. And I feel like Synchronicity in New York City is the first kind of introduction even into like spirituality on my main channel. And it's, I mean, I feel like I think I've been kind of like in the spiritual world or like curious about it for like the last like 5 years, which I didn't think. I would always be like, oh, maybe like a year or two, but then I would read my journals back and be like, oh, I've been like really interested or curious about this stuff for a little longer than I thought. So yeah, definitely got a little bit of a dopamine hit. I don't know what I'm saying. I already said it earlier, so whatever I said earlier, but that Ryan said after finishing that video. But it was just, you know, if you can wake up and have something that you just love to work on that you're excited about, that is the biggest blessing. Because even when I was like a little bit stressed because I had only finished like 3/4 of the video by the day that I said I was going to upload it, I was just like, these are all amazing problems to have. Really reframing it. And I will say, even after I uploaded that, I was like a little anxious because I don't know how it's going to go. And I always tend to it's getting a lot better, but I always get a little bit anxious when I upload just because, I don't know, I think it's like you're opening yourself up to the world, and the things that I want to be talking about are like deeply personal to me now. Even spirituality has helped me a lot with getting over the anxiety. My motto for like the last year has been faith over fear. And but yeah, even after I posted that video, I was just like, I'm gonna go take myself for some ice cream. And I had the most beautiful, pleasant interactions out in the world. And then even like the next day, on Sunday, today's Monday, well, it's now Tuesday in Texas time, but still Monday in Alaska. For the next 2 days, I just like kind of went out and I had the most amazing conversations and like experiences. I don't know, it was nice because I was coming down from like a little work high, and I was just like stepping out into the real world for the first time, and I was just like, oh, like, what is there to do out here? It was kind of like seeing everything for the first time, but it was still like a beautiful little magical world. Like I went to the ice cream shop and there was this like little boy who was just being like a little weirdo, and his dad was like, why are you being such a weirdo? And he just like walked up to me without even looking at me, and it was just like just like a big smile. And then I was just laughing at him, and then I think his dad like really appreciated that, so he like held the door, and then I was just like on my phone walking back home, and then just this big bird just like flies right by my face and like in between three of us, and it ends up being like the dad, some random couple, and then me, and then we all just like kind of share that moment. And then one of the guys is like, who does that duck think he is? I don't know, it was just really nice. And then the next day I was walking to get, I don't know, I didn't have anywhere to go, so I was like, maybe I'll get ice cream again, because I had such a great, I don't even like ice cream that much, but for some reason, for 2 days in a row. But I didn't end up getting it because there was this restaurant nearby that was open, and I met my neighbor, Josie, a great woman. It was bizarre because I journal outside, so I've seen her, and like, I for some reason just was like, I wonder if I'll ever talk to her, like have a conversation with her. And one day I just like go out for an evening walk, and she's taking her trash out, so I introduce myself and I'm like, hey, I just moved in. And I talked to her for like 2 minutes, and she's super friendly, so nice. And then like she asked me like a minute or two into our conversation, like, so where are you coming from? And I'm like, Alaska. And then she's like wearing an Alaska shirt, and she was turning 49 the next day, and Alaska's like the 49th state. So then she like goes inside, and she's like, oh, I'll join you for your walk. So she joins me for this walk, takes me all over the neighborhood, all to these different little places that she has been going to for like the last 20 years. And you could tell that everyone knows her. But she told me about this restaurant, and she was like, I'm not sure how long this is going to be open for because of COVID. They've been kind of struggling. And every time I pass it, it's been closed. So it's like Southern home cooked food. And I was walking to the ice cream shop, and I noticed it was open. So I was like, oh, I have to go because I don't know how long it's going to be open for. And I just like go, and I'm there by myself, and I order like a main dish with 2 sides because it comes with 2 sides. And then I get another side of collard greens because I'm just like, I feel like I have to. That sounds delicious. And they don't give me my collard greens, but they keep it on the receipt, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna say something. And I'm just like, oh, hey, I didn't get my collard greens. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I'm just like, honestly, it's no big deal because I wouldn't have been able to finish it anyway. Like, I didn't even finish any of the other food. And the chef literally comes out, and he's like, I'm so sorry, I delivered you your food and I forgot your collard greens. And I comped you half your meal. And I was just like, wow, that is so kind of you. You did not have to do that. And then I asked him what his favorite foods are because I saw him drop off the food next to me, and he was like kind of listing off some of his favorite foods. And he like goes through, and he's like, oh, the collard green. Oh. And then he like goes through all of his other favorite foods. And then he ends up bringing me collard greens, his favorite cheesecake, and some other side, and all just for like half off the original price of the meal. I don't know, just the best interactions, like so kind. And I honestly kind of feel like, okay, I want to talk about books too, but I feel like I've entered some new type of like frequency or vibration. And honestly, that I didn't even want to talk about that idea at first because I was just like so skeptical of it, but I keep hearing more and more people talk about it, like the vibe or tuning into like the universal frequency. And I just genuinely feel I kind of have ascended some type of vibrational field because I don't know. It's just like even little kids, they're just after like the little ice cream boy, like this little kid from the stroller was just like waving, and usually I'll wave at little kids, but just like the best interactions the last 2 days. So that after Synchronicity was really nice because it honestly kind of, I came out of my little cave, out of my magical little cave. These lights are not usually here. I actually took these from Chris, and he doesn't know that I have them, but we're hosting something tomorrow. But yeah, I came out of my little cave, and I was just like, okay, this is what the real world is like. It was kind of gloomy, kind of rainy, but then I just had the best interactions, and I was just like, you know what? This world is very magical and full of goodness. So long story short, I actually want to talk about groups and associations because this has been a topic that's just been on my mind, even for friend groups. Throw it all the way back to like high school days. And I remember this one girl like didn't like me and she was like throwing a party at her house, or maybe one of her other friends was throwing a party at their houses. But I wouldn't go because I would never want to go somewhere that I'm unwelcomed. And it's funny because I don't even think the other girls like disliked me, but since this one girl didn't like me and she was like very close friends with her two best friends, I just associated them all with like, oh, they all don't like me, I'm not going to talk to any of them. I think it's actually really important to think about your friends and like the associations that they have and how they represent you. And also just being a part of a group puts you into a certain association. And if that is something you care about and that is like a standard that you hold high, it is actually really important to think about. And this is an example I use sometimes when I'm like telling people this theory about like why it's important to even like consider groups. No, I'm going to skip it. We're not going to go there yet. I don't know you guys that much yet. Maybe someday. Okay. So yes, I also think discernment is very important. It will become very important in the future for some reason. I don't know why that came in. That's like been something I've been talking about too. Just like the importance of being able to discern. And it was funny because I was talking to an Italian person, and he was like, discernment, what does this mean? So I'm going to look up the definition right now just to get it like completely right. But I don't know, this has been a big buzzword. The ability to judge well. That's simply it. But I don't know. I've been thinking about this in like a content perspective of like everyone and their mom has a podcast now. I think curation and discernment is becoming increasingly more important. Maybe in the digital era, which maybe sucks, but is maybe also a good thing. Okay, anyway, that was like a little random tangent. But in terms of what I'm doing next, so we're gonna keep on that subject. I'm gonna take a little sip of this drink. But I was listening to this podcast very recently with this MIT neuroscientist. Yes. And she was saying a way to gain better self-awareness is just through journaling, and maybe not self-awareness, but to trust your intuition more. And I just did that podcast with Stay and Rage. I don't think it's going to be out anytime soon, but I talk about like intuition and like discernment a lot, and like a lot of like very deep internet thoughts. But this is me like having a headache right here. But I think they asked me like before this podcast was even released, they were like, what do you think helps you develop your intuition? And I said journaling, like 1,000%. I journal very often, and I don't know, I just do it so much to the point where I don't even sometimes realize the benefits until I'm like kind of talking about it to other people and like reflecting on it. But after I saw my Synchronicity video where I ran into the girl who did this journaling classes thing, and I looked over my workshops, this is like kind of the beautiful thing about like the videos that I'm making right now. It's like, for me, the Synchronicity video was truly like, I had so many little check marks that I needed to check off in my brain, and just, it truly felt like I was like processing a chapter of my life. And I really think I did through my next like few videos after that too, which is really cool. Like, I feel like that is actually what content in art, I'm gonna call it art, should be, is like actually going through and it means something. I've been considering maybe bringing journaling workshops back. I really did not consider that until I saw in my Synchronicity video. But yeah, the purpose when I started it back then was I was like, oh, the pandemic, people are not going to be doing well. And I feel like at this point in time in life, maybe we're kind of entering that stage again where it just seems like dismal and bleak. Like, I kind of experienced that last year where I was just like, oh, the state of the world. But I feel like I kind of just got over that, or I don't know what it was. I like kind of built myself, or maybe like found more faith, or like spirituality just got deeper. So I feel like I'm good on that front, but I feel like the state of the world is just like, oof. So I don't know. I've been thinking about maybe bringing journaling workshop back. Just a vague thought in my head that was planted from the Synchronicity video, which I just edited last week. So it's only been a week old thought. But in terms of like what I want to do next, even researching for that video, like it has a ton of Carl Jung in it. And I say Jung because I was like asking everyone, oh, do you know who Carl Jung is? And then this one physicist was like, Jung? So I've been saying Jung ever since he corrected me. So, but something that I think is really interesting is something I just love is like I love doing that video because it's like I can actually learn. It gave me like an opportunity to just take a deep dive into Carl Jung. And the more I read and learn about him, the more I honestly am just like, wow. Even in terms of like analyzing dreams, I started analyzing my dreams after hearing Esther Perel, whose both parents were Holocaust survivors. And I listened to her on the Tim Ferriss show, and I think this is where I got it from, but it was years ago. And she basically said, like, I think the question was like, how do you think that there's no real way to know, but what do you think your parents attributed like their survival to? And there were three things, but the one thing that I really took away was listening to premonitions, and that came in the form of dreams for her mom. So she would dream that it'd be extra cold out, so she'd like stuff her shoes with extra newspaper or paper or something the next day, and she just really listened to her dreams. So that's kind of when I started paying attention more to mine. And over the last like 2 years, I've just been really having extremely vivid visual dreams. And I used to be able to lucid dream, but that's kind of gone away. Like I can still control myself in dreams, but I don't always know that I'm in a dream. Whereas before I would know that I was in a dream. I've also had sleep paralysis. I haven't had that recently, but it's interesting because me and my sister and my brother all experience sleep paralysis. And I think my dad does too. So I think it might be genetic, but that's like an interesting topic that I'm super intrigued by. But my dreams have been something that I've really been looking into. And that's kind of like spirituality, where you're just like, I don't know how much I should be paying attention to some of these thoughts or dreams that I have. But I was listening to a podcast with Stephen Pressfield by Danny Miranda, and he talks about how he was like listening to his dreams. And I've had some of the same dreams like he was talking about. Well, he firstly recommended a book like Analyzing Dreams by a Jungian like psychologist or something, or a Jungian analyst, which there are a ton of those. Like the more I like look into Carl Jung, I'm just like, wow, tons of people are studying him. And like, I don't know, there have been interesting podcasts. I'll try to link them below if I can find them and remember them. But Stephen Pressfield talks about, he wrote The War of Art. Yes, not The Art of War. The War of Art. And he talks about resistance, which was really cool for me to read about. I read the book a few years ago, I think, and it's a great book if you're like creatively blocked. I've been reading a lot of creative books recently, and he calls it like resistance with a capital R. And it's just like, you know, it's been a while, but from my remembering it, it's kind of like, you know, you have this like reptilian brain that's trying to protect you, to keep you from doing things that are working, and your creative pursuits are like the next step that'll take you to an unknown place. So your resistance like comes out to try to protect you, but it's actually just kind of holding you back from moving forward. That could be completely wrong, but like basically it's just like resistance, creative resistance. And he talks about how in the podcast, he is like, yeah, I've had all these dreams about like bodies of water. And for a time period, like a few months ago, I was having a ton of water related dreams. At first, it was bizarre because it was like a sequence of them. Like at first, I'd be looking from a bird's eye view, and I would just see like this crazy ocean with like whales and like sharks in it. And they were friendly, like I wasn't scared of them. But then I get like a little bit closer, like I'm in a boat, and like I can look down and see all the water, and then I could see like the whales and like all these animals and like marine animals. And then the next one, I'm like in the water, and I'm like with a little pillow, and I just like throw the pillow. So I'm like, ooh, take the pillow, not me. But it's never like a scary or like a dangerous dream. I always feel like comfortable, even though there are like a lot of like things that I'm uncertain about and kind of like scary animals that I would be definitely scared of if I were actually in that situation, but it always felt like protected and fine. And I was just like, I have no idea what any of this means, because sometimes I'll take my dreams and like try to analyze them by myself. And it was crazy like listening to that podcast, because he's like, oh, for me, water represents like creativity. And I feel like I've been really creatively blocked, like hence the reason why I'm reading all these like creativity books. I honestly feel like Synchronicity was like a breakthrough for me. It was just a clearing of like something that was just like, I don't, maybe just a clearing. And I don't know, I'm just like, that's really interesting, because I have all these things that I'm super excited about that I feel have like really good messages and like really uplifting things that I've learned. And maybe that is like representative of like my creativity. It's just like I see it from very far. Like I remember this guy Zach Hornavar he took us all to lunch, me and my old roommates Luke and Kelly, and he was like, what's holding you back right now? And I don't know what they said. They said probably like something financial or like whatever. And I was just like, I am the thing that's holding me back, and I know it. And there's like some type of creative bridging that I think is happening in my life, where I'm just like, okay, I've been doing YouTube for 11 years now. I've developed the taste. Like I know what I want to be creating, but I wasn't doing it at the time. And I kind of feel like I'm getting one step closer, even with like Synchronicity. It's like way closer to what the stuff that I want to be doing than whatever vlogs that I was doing before. So obviously like not every video is going to be crazy or like require that much editing or whatever, but I feel like I have an idea of what I want to be doing, and I'm getting closer, but it's still going to take a long time. And I'm not even really happy with my Synchronicity video. I feel like I could have worked on that for another month and then probably been happy with it. But after a certain point, it just needs to be done. And I still feel like there's a Rick Rubin quote that pertains to it, but I didn't bring that book here. But yeah, so I kind of feel like that water related, ocean, whatever. Well, it was either an ocean and then the next one was like a river, like the one with the boat. But I feel like that is kind of like symbolic of like me just like actually diving into my creativity instead of like playing it very safe with like vlogs and just capturing, because that's what I've done for like the last 11 years. So that was really interesting. I would love to hear other people's perspectives on if you take your dream seriously. Okay, I think I'm going to, that I was talking about writing though. Yeah, so I did this writing course, and honestly, a bunch of synchronistic events led me to take this writing course. And I feel like even me just doing the synchronicity video, where I just thoroughly enjoyed, like I thoroughly enjoyed reading these books. I thoroughly enjoyed like reading about more and learning about Carl Jung. And I'm just like, honestly, I've done so much like research in my own head that is not going to even exist in the video, that writing would be the perfect solution. And this is a thing, is I don't write for my videos. A lot of YouTubers that I know, most YouTubers I know actually write their scripts before their videos, especially if they have something that they're trying to say. But I am extremely free-flowing with my videos. Like the synchronicity video, I think I could have or should have written out, but I just found what I was trying to say in the edit. Like every single part of that video was just like, okay, I think this makes sense here. So I'm gonna, like I would do voiceovers at the time where it came, not like writing the whole thing out and planning and knowing from start to finish like how the video is going to look. I just do it as it comes in the timeline. And like even the Jade with like the Steezy video, that came to me later, where I was just like, wow, this is like the exact same conversation. So I kind of like switched back and forth. But I think I do want to try writing videos out, in which case just writing like the research that I do would be super helpful and like easy, and would probably make the entire process like much easier. But I will keep you guys updated on that, because it's been on my list of things to do to publish my first article, and I still haven't done that. So I'm not gonna announce it until I'm done with it. But I'm really excited about that, because also I have, like I've said, like 11 years of YouTube, videos on my channel, and I feel like I have like my own little story of like videos that I really like or videos that I think are representative, and it's not like someone's gonna like sit down and watch 11 years of my videos and know how I feel about different things or what I want to highlight. So I don't know, I've always wanted like a personal blog. So I'm pretty excited about writing more. So stay tuned for that, but that's definitely something that I'm going to focus on and like actually prioritize. The last time I've written anything that I'm like kind of proud of was in college, and it was for a college essay. So that is unacceptable. If you're trying to pursue a dream and you're just not doing anything about it, that needs to change. And so for me, that's writing. So I'm excited to be doing that. Okay. Another thing I really want to do is I want to bring back my I Interned For series. I love when I have something or someone that I'm genuinely excited to learn from. It just is so easy. And if I don't have something I'm genuinely excited about or interested in, I will not do it. My sister's the same way, so I feel like we understand each other in that, where it's just like, for her, it's ADD or ADHD or whatever the other one is. For me, she's actually said like, I think you have a different form of ADD, but it's still like ADD where, and then I was talking to another YouTuber and he was like, I think all YouTubers have a form of ADD and perhaps narcissism. So the biggest challenge for the interning videos is really simply just like finding someone who it's not a challenge, but it's like, that's the big piece that's important to do. And I have like a few people in mind, but I really want to bring that back. And when I was doing them, that was like the series that I was most excited about. And then I kind of forgot about it as I took my like year-long break. And then I was talking to some people at our potluck that we had hosted. And one of the guys was like, yeah, you should bring that back. That was like really, I feel like that's your forte. And then Steezy, Isaiah, reposted my Synchronicity video, and he was like, I really loved it. It was very journalistic. And those are kind of my favorite videos because, again, I mentioned this in my last podcast, but I'm just like, if you can tell a story and it's a real story, or just like have a real life, all events are true, and it's like still an amazing story or an amazing video, I think that's coolest. I'm just not impressed by things that are like fake just to make the content. I had this random thought pop into my brain where it was like, I think some people live to make content. Yeah. Where I think I make content to live better. Like, I just want to be making content so that I can do cool things versus the other way around. Like, I noticed this at Coachella the one time I went for one day. It was like, I was with like some like younger people, and they were like, oh, I have to remember to like live in the moment. And because they were just like recording everything, where I was just like, oh, I have to remember to post since this is like kind of my job, or I'm trying to make this my job at the time. Me for like the last like 5 years. And yeah, I have to remember to post every now and then because that's what you're supposed to do. But I think that's like kind of the difference. I don't know why that just randomly popped into my head earlier today. Another thing that I really am trying to do is grow some audacity. I find that guys, I think I talked about this in my last podcast too. What am I saying? I think I talked about this in my last podcast as well. But actually, I also talked about it to like some random people in my writing course, where I was like, I think guys just have more audacity. And I don't even mean it in a negative way, because I think that word has a negative connotation. And the two guys that I was talking to were like, I think we just need less of a good reason to do something and to ask for something, where women tend to need a better reason. I don't know if that's true, but I was like, maybe. But basically, someone, hopefully you're listening to this, or else awkward, but someone else commented on how they also have like a hard time just reaching out to people for their podcast, and it's like an interviewing podcast. That's what I'm trying to work on next is, I don't know, I have a huge network of people, but in my brain I'm just like, no, they would not want to do, why would they want to do a podcast with you? Where I don't know, I've seen other people run their podcasts and they don't even have like a close relationship, or they're just like very loose friends. And maybe it works better that way, to just ask like people you're very loosely connected with. But I kind of think that my best conversations so far have been with people that I know on a deep enough level to ask like questions that I know about them. So I'm trying to gain some audacity in the next, I think if I gain audacity, everything will change. It'll be over. But it's tough for me. So until then, I'll just do these little personal podcasts and work on the audacity part. I'm gonna do a little book section. I think that'd be fun because I always actually am reading something, and I kind of always want to be talking about some books, but I don't really have a space to do that. I'm in the middle of reading like 3 books right now, but very weirdly, I have been gifted more books in this last month than I have ever been gifted in my entire life. Like usually I get gifted like a book or 2 a year. I've been gifted like 7 books in the last 2 months. Let me walk you through some of them. But with that, I can't vouch for these books because I haven't read them and they were gifted. Well, I'll start with these 3 because I have read these ones. Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural. Would highly recommend. This book is also very interesting, cultish, but I don't like the tone in which she writes personally, and I thought it was just me. And again, I asked my friend who grew up in a cult for her feedback, and she also didn't like the tone. And I don't try to say this in an offensive way, but after reading this, I'm just like, wow, anyone could write a book. Like, that just doesn't come off right, but I was like, okay, anyone can cook. The Power of One More. This one I really liked. I read it so long ago now that I can't really point out, but I think one of the sections that I liked the most, which I didn't talk about in my Synchronicity video, but the section that I liked a lot was him talking about how in working with a team, you have to sell the dream, and sometimes you don't even like believe in it because everyone has their doubts. But if you're like a leader, your job as a leader is to sell the vision or the dream that you're trying to create. This book I'm actually really excited about, The Hero's Journey. Even though it's very like biographical, that is just like the hero's journey just keeps popping up over and over again, by Joseph Campbell. It's something I learned in high school, but I don't know, I'm just intrigued by the idea in terms of storytelling, and like placing yourself in like the hero's journey. And the podcast that I was listening to today, Stephen Pressfield, is like, even for like a podcast, like, do you experience resistance? And I've experienced so much resistance for this podcast, even though I really want to do it. And I don't know, I think he's like, that's you have a calling, and then you deny the calling. And I feel like I have so many little points in my life where I like kind of deny because I don't think I'm like good enough, or like I just need more faith, or I have too much fear. And then I'm like, the only way out is through. You just have to kind of do what you think you want to do, and it's always just going to be looming in your head if you don't. So you might as well just do it. So very intrigued by that. I've been reading Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I was really, really into this book until I got a little stuck. Maybe it's just because I was doing my Synchronicity video where I was like kind of only focusing on that. But it's a good book. Very, and a ton of people also reference this book. Even one of the later books that I'll bring up. Okay, these 2 books I'm excited to read. 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. These are all the gifted books. So the past ones were all like ones that I had picked out, but then all the rest of them are gifted. And then Building a Second Brain. The writing course that I just took was like really, half the, I feel, emphasis is about like capturing your notes. Like if you're reading, what do you do with the notes? Like I don't do anything with these notes, and they're just in my brain somewhere, and I'm trying to like reference them. So half of it is kind of just like capturing and having an organization system. That's what this book is about. But for the 4,000 Weeks book, I actually remember I got a comment about this book. I took this screenshot in September of 2022. So this was like 2 months ago from that. So G Ye in the World commented, "Hey Anne-Marie, Just wanted to comment because I really related to that experience you have of people constantly asking what your next move is. That's what this video is about. This is crazy because I had the screenshot in my messy desktop. I've started to clear it up, but I just kept this one up and I just went to look for it and it was the first one I opened. So I was like, but I haven't read it for a little while, so I don't actually know what it's going to say. I just started my first job out of university, and it's a job that is often seen as a stepping stone to move on to better jobs. So a lot of people have been asking about my long-term career plans, and honestly, I have no idea. Now I just say I'm going with the flow too. Okay, this is funny because someone literally just asked me this today, and that's what I said. Something I read that sort of relieved my anxiety about the future was from this book I'm currently reading called 4,000 Weeks Time Management for Mortals. I did not screenshot the whole comment, so it says read more, so I guess you have to read more and get the book yourself to figure it out. But I think I listened to like a YouTube book summary on this and I really liked some of the concepts, so I was telling this person I'm talking to about it, and he gifted me both of these books, which is very nice of him. So those are the two books that I'm excited to read. I was gifted this book by Brad, Discover Connection. And again, I've been kind of going to church. I don't know. I felt called to check it out here in Austin. And like the first week I just got like all these little signs. So I was like, I'll check it out. I'll go. And it's been really interesting. I feel like that's like a little bit more something that I'm still like discovering on my own. But I was talking to Brad and he was like, I was kind of the same. And when I first got into Austin, like he had kind of the same experiences. It's been a really interesting journey. So he told me that this was a book that he read when he was like a little on the fence. It's called The Reason for God by Timothy Keller. Kind of actually excited to read this book. And then the book that I'm currently reading that I've been excited to read more is this book, The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp. And the podcast that I was actually listening to earlier was Stephen Pressfield. I was gifted this book by the person who did the podcast, and he said that this was one of Stephen Pressfield's favorite books on creativity, which I thought was actually really nice. And okay, these three books, I just met a Stephen Foster from my writing course, and we just like met, and then he was like, I'll write a passage, which is like the little course that I took. People go to the bookstore together, and I thought it was like a cute idea, and I was renting a car, so I was like, yes, please give me a reason to drive this car. And he picked me out these three books, and I told him I would return the favor, but I would actually have to think about it because I think he just kind of picked these on the spot for me. But I was like, I'm gonna have to think about mine a little bit harder. And the books are The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis. There are so many books in my lap right now. Love Does by Bob Goff, and he said that this book is what convinced him or made him like propose to his wife. He has a kid. The Knowledge of the Holy, A.W. Tozer. So I have a ton of books that I'm super excited about. And maybe I should read the book about like the organization system for note taking so I can actually like kind of spread the knowledge a little bit more. That was the point of like Unemployed Millennial podcast for me. It's like, you know, Unemployed Millennial has a negative connotation, but it's like, oh, I have the time to do these things, like read these little books so that like you don't have to. So maybe I could like spread the knowledge and like, you know, give you the good highlights or tell you the good books that you should read that I have benefited from. So that's kind of my goal with even reading and researching or whatnot. So it is now 2:41. For the next 2 days, I'm super excited. I'm hosting a friend here, and I'm kind of just excited to hang out and like have a good time. I haven't really been going out much in Austin, a little bit, but not a ton. So I feel like it's due time, and I'm going home to Alaska after that, the day after. We're also hosting like a little potluck. But after that, the day after, I'm going home, and I'm so excited. I don't know. I haven't been like homesick until I feel like I've been walking around the last few days and like, wow, I could really go home, and I don't know. I'm excited to see my parents. I saw them last at my brother's wedding, but I'm excited to see my sister. I'm going to try to podcast with them. I'm trying to get my brother at his wedding said that he wanted to start a YouTube channel. He's a doctor, and he was like, I just want to make stupid little videos. And I'm like, it's actually a lot more work than that, but he just wants to make like little eating videos. And then I was thinking of it. I have a huge family on my Korean side, and I don't know, I just feel like they could do so well doing YouTube, and kind of like the association thing, like I know my family pretty well. I've always like wanted to work with like my friends and family. Like I'm one of those types of people that just like wants to, work and do stuff with people that I love. So like the whole association thing, I'm like, we're already family. I already kind of know the associations that you guys bring. And yeah, this is me manifesting for more family YouTube content. I think it's really tough because I'm so protective of my family, and I'm like, I don't want you guys to have to ever go through anything you don't want to. But I'm like, they're big kids. They're big boys and girls. Like they can also take care of themselves. And I don't know, I think it'd be super cool even for my like extended like family with my cousins and stuff. Cause I don't know, I think maybe everyone thinks this of themselves, but I'm like, I truly think we have like a really interesting family. But yeah, I'm super excited to go to Alaska. I don't really know my return date yet. But I will figure it out, and it's dumping snow there, absolutely dumping, to the point where it's like kind of not great. The roads are really bad, and there have been auroras just like blasting. We're in a new solar cycle for the next like 8 years, and the next 2 years they've been out more than ever, and will be out more than like the last 20 years. So I don't know, I think it's a magical place. But it's also just like home for me, and I feel like every time I go home after I'm like living somewhere, I come up with my next steps in life. So low-key, I'm like, I'll figure out what I want to do next there. Like I'll have my moment of clarity or whatever I need. So yeah, I actually covered every single thing. Oh, I wanted to say subscribe if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel. Only 60% of you are not subscribed. Some percentage like that, like 66% is not subscribed. So definitely subscribe and like this video, comment. And I will talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.